the topic that I want to cover tonight is fitness starts in your mind. And I'm going to base it kind of around this whole idea and this concept. And when I say fitness starts in your mind, what I mean is when you're going to set out to do anything in life, it doesn't just have to be fitness, but when you're setting out to do anything in life, you need to first think of it. It first needs to actually come as an idea into your mind in order for you to go and take action. So you have the idea come in, and then you have a perception of that. You want to do that, or you don't want to do that, whatever it might be. But assuming you want to do that, then you go out into the world and you take action and you try to achieve that goal, as long as you don't have too many blocks in the way. But what I want to talk about specifically is actually the self talk behind the fitness goals. And I'm going to be referring to everything in the fitness goals, but this really applies to a lot of different things in your life. And basically, what I'm talking about is if you set out to lose fat, you have a goal, you want to lose 10 kilograms of fat in 12 weeks, which is quite a doable goal. I literally just did it recently, and have helped my clients go through it as well. But what I'm talking about with the idea of fitness starts in your mind, and how this relates also to the self-talk that you have, is if you're telling yourself the entire time that I'm going to use a bit of language too. You're telling yourself you're a fat shit and you can't do this, you suck. Those thoughts that are going on in your mind, or you don't have what it takes, whatever it might be, you're thinking, oh, I'm worthless, I'm not capable of doing this, I don't know if I have what it takes, I'm fat, I'm old, I'm whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. What you need to understand when it comes to self-talk is that if you don't learn to control your mind, then it will control you. And this is so important to understand because so many people go and they try and achieve some specific goal. They set out, they're all motivated, and they're like, oh, cool. They start making a little bit of progress or whatever it might be. And then as they start to go on the journey, maybe it slows down. Maybe the progress slows down, or they stop making progress, or the doubts start to creep in, and they start talking to themselves in a really negative way. They start telling themselves that they can't do it. The old habits creep back in, the old negative patterns that have held you back and gotten you the results that you had before is now holding you back and also hindering you from making further progress. And this is why this concept is so important for you to understand and to start applying. And what I'm going to give you is just a few tools. It's very, very simple, but it's basically a habit that you need to build on a daily basis, consistently over the rest of your life, honestly, in order to start making progress or continuously make progress if you've already set out on a specific journey. So that's the concept of self-talk. And that's why fitness starts in your mind. If you start out on a program and you start out, as I said, if your goal might be muscle gain, you want to improve your muscles, you want to get jacked and improve your muscle, and you also want to feel more confident. You want to have a better self-image. You want to have better relationships. You want to go out and you want to go for a promotion, whatever it might be. In this context, you need to learn to start talking to yourself differently. Self-talk is probably one of the most underrated tools that you can use to actually start making noticeable improvements in your life. And how it actually works when it comes to making those noticeable changes is when you start talking to yourself differently, it's going to feel probably like a struggle. But when you start talking to yourself differently over the course of days, months, years, decades, that is going to make a huge difference. Now, I'll give you a thought experiment. Imagine, imagine you, I'm just going to think of an example. So imagine you are trying to set out to lose fat. Okay. Maybe you've been overweight for a long time. You struggle with losing weight, and weight loss is just a really good example to use because everyone usually wants to lose weight or lose fat specifically, not just weight. So say your goal is to set out and you want to achieve that, right? So you want to lose fat, you want to get shredded, you want to lose whatever it might be. It doesn't matter the goal, doesn't matter the number. But if you go and set out to you start a program, you hire a coach, or you find a program that works for you, or you subscribe to an app or whatever it might be. But then you start the journey, you start doing a few workouts, you start feeling good about yourself, and you start to see a bit of progress, your energy goes up, you feel a bit more confident, and maybe you see a little bit of progress, but then say it stalls, say that progress stalls, and now you haven't seen as much progress, and you kind of your thoughts start to creep back in. Those old patterns start to creep back in. You don't feel like going to the gym because it's early, or you've had a long day at work, whatever it might be, and you're not in the mood to do it. And then they start creeping back in, and maybe you decide not to do it, and you're telling yourself the whole time, yeah, I don't know if I'm keen. You're arguing with yourself, you're discussing in your mind, and all these things start to creep back in. Now, play that out over a month. What happens? Probably not too much. If you can still push through a little bit, that's okay. But what happens is you start out high, okay? You start out, you've gone up, you started at a certain point, you've gone up, you've made a little bit of progress, but now you're starting to creep back down because all those old habits coming back in, all those same thought patterns are coming back in. And now you start talking to yourself differently. You're telling yourself, I can't do this. I don't know if I have what it takes. Oh, I can't be bothered to go for a workout again, whatever it might be. All those things start to creep back in. And then you skip a workout. And then you skip another workout. And then you start eating out a lot more. You start ordering in takeout food. Not that I'm against that, by the way, because I always preach balance to everyone. I always talk about balance. That's the strategy. But if it's been a hindrance to you achieving your goals, then that's where it's a problem. But back to the story, if you start eating out a lot more, you start eating more junk food again because you're like, oh well, I may as well just give up now. Now you're starting to see, okay, well, these things are starting to creep back in again, and you're starting to fall back into old habits. And what is that usually a result of? It's because of also how you're talking to yourself. You're telling yourself, oh, I don't know, I have what it takes. And then you start feeling like, oh, okay, well, maybe it's hopeless now. I may as well just give up and not worry about it. And then you start letting things go more and more and more. Then you fall off track. And now I want you to project 3 months into the future, and then 6 months into the future. Imagine how this cycle keeps continuing all the time. And now look 10 years into the future. And now you've gotten back to your old kind of weight. If your goal is to lose fat, you've gotten back to your old weight, if not even worse. Your health is deteriorating. Maybe your relationships are starting to suffer as well. You've got mental fatigue all the time. Your energy levels have dropped again. And that's because you also haven't been doing the work to continuously get the results and go on the upward spiral. But a lot of this stuff can stem from you not actually talking to yourself properly, not thinking the right things about yourself, and thinking the right things about the situation, the circumstances, the goals. Now, I know this sounds like a small thing, but as I always talk about, the small habits are the things that lead to the big results. The discipline that you develop, those small decisions that you make on a daily basis, you're winning little battles. And those little battles that you win are the things that win the big war. So if you're constantly talking to yourself, self-talk is such a massive thing. You really have to understand the importance of talking to yourself in the right way. Now, flip the script. Imagine that you had that same goal. Your goal is to lose fat. You want to get ripped. You want to get shredded. You want to feel lean. You want to feel good, sexy, confident, whatever, right? Now, some of those old habits after that first month, we're going back to the first month, they start to creep back in. You don't feel like it. You're like, oh, yeah, I don't know if I have what it takes. Now, that's where you recognize in those moments, you're recognizing and becoming aware of how you're talking to yourself. You just imagine you started developing that habit. And now, instead of you saying to yourself that, maybe that thought came to your mind, you're like, no, you know what? Yeah, I don't feel like it, but I know that this is going to be the best thing for my future self. My future self will thank me for this. And if you are starting to make those decisions, so from that point, you say, you know what, this is going to be, no, I know I don't feel like it, but don't argue with myself. Let's go and do it. Let's go get it done. I know that I have what it takes. I'm becoming a better version of myself. I know I have what it takes. Let's go and get it done because I know that in the future, this will really help me. And I know that after the workout, I'll feel better. After I have a better meal, I'll feel better. Okay. And after you do a meditative practice, after you do, developing better sleep routines, you'll feel better. And a lot of this stuff comes from just thinking different things. If you think different thoughts, if you talk to yourself in a different way and talk to yourself how you would treat someone who you want to grow into the best version, right? If you, like, for example, like a lot of people, they inside their own head, imagine if you take that same language and you spoke to a child like that, okay? Most people would be pretty horrified at what they're saying to that child, okay? And that's why it's really important for you to change your self-talk. So, this example now, you've had that stuff creep back in, you had the thoughts creep back in, the self-talk was starting to kind of, hit a bit of a negative spiral. And now you've caught yourself and you started to reframe. You started to talk to yourself in a different way. Now you're like, you know what? Actually, I'm going to go do the workout. This, I know I'm going to feel better about this. I know I've got what it takes. I can achieve this. That kind of language. Now you go do the workout. Then you feel better. Okay. And you're like, fuck, I'm so glad I did that. And now you have a reinforcing loop that's of positive nature. So a positive reinforcing loop. And now you do the same thing again. You start to become more aware of how you're talking to yourself, the things that you're thinking, and you're starting to actively change that when you catch yourself. And that's a keyword, catch yourself. So you don't expect to be perfect with this process, but you catch yourself when you're starting to talk to yourself in a negative way. You're starting to talk to yourself in a way that's going to hinder you towards achieving your goals. And with that being said, now project that 3 months in the future. You're winning more and more of these small battles. Okay. And now 3 months' time, you are in a better shape. You feel much better about yourself. You're more confident. You have more energy. Maybe your relationships have improved. It has a cascading effect on other areas of your life. And now you feel a lot better. And the projection of where your life has gone, or even just your health, if that's your only goal, whatever, that's fine. But you feel a lot better. You feel more confident. And that's simply the result of thinking differently and talking to yourself in a way that is constructive, something that's actually going to help you. That doesn't mean that you have to sit there and chant in front of the mirror all day long affirmations that you're an amazing person or whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the daily habit that you've developed of how you talk inside your own mind. And believe it or not, it is a habit. And that's why I'm so passionate about this specific topic, because if you don't do that, you're literally not going to get the results, because you're going to talk yourself out of all of your goals. You're going to manage to talk yourself out of, going and doing the things that you know you need to do and you want to do to achieve that better version of yourself. So now, if you project that even further from 3 months to 6 months, you're in much better shape. You've already, you're like ripped. You've already, and especially if you're working with a coach, then you've already achieved your goals. And now you're on track to improving your life in every way, simply because you also have talked to yourself differently. That's literally impact this can have if you use it correctly. Now, I'm not saying necessarily that, everything's going to be magical and everything's going to be, amazing and perfect. That's not what I'm talking about. Because at the end of the day, challenges are what you need to grow, and they will come up along the way and you will have to overcome them. But if you view those challenges or setbacks, whatever it is that happens along the way, and you're learning to change the self-talk, and you're learning to change the way that you perceive situations, instead of viewing a challenge or a setback as a failure, you're viewing it as a learning point and using it as an opportunity to strengthen yourself, to strengthen your body, to strengthen your mind. And so you project that out even further, 10 years. How much better position would you be in simply because you learned to talk to yourself differently and take different actions? So if you think different things, you feel different things, you take different actions, you get different results. That's how the cycle goes. Okay. But I should add in there as well that you're not always going to feel like it. But this is why it's also important to change the self talk, because that's also where discipline comes in. Discipline, as I define it, is acting as what the best version of yourself would do and asking yourself that question. And that's also self-talk. They're talking to yourself already when you do that. So that's why this topic is very, very important for you guys to understand. Now, the tool or the thing that I want you to take away from this, the action step, is to learn to just become aware. Become aware, firstly, of how you're talking to yourself. What are the types of things that you say to yourself on a daily basis? You're in your own head all day, every day anyway. So you may as well have something good to say. I didn't mean for that to rhyme. Anyway, but yeah, so just become aware of how you're talking to yourself. Become aware of the things that you think, specifically when it comes to your fitness goals. If you're noticing that you're getting a lot of negative self-talk around that, then that's an opportunity for you to become aware and to start to change that self-talk. Now, I also want you to change the self-talk. So there's only two things I want you to do. Okay. I want you to become aware of your self-talk. How are you speaking to yourself? And the second thing is I want you to start changing that, reframing it. Okay. Start talking to yourself in a different way. And your cue to do that is when you're getting different thoughts, you start noticing yourself and you become aware that you're speaking to yourself in a negative way, specifically in the context of your fitness goals. I don't want to go and focus on every other area of your life right now because I'm here to help you achieve your fitness goals. The cascading effect will happen as a result of you doing this towards your fitness goals anyway. So it's always a good thing to try and become aware of that across the board. But specifically, I want it to be very specific, actionable steps that you can take right now, which is to become aware of your self talk and then also to change that and reframe it. Okay. And from that point, I want you to notice the difference. Now, obviously, you can't just, you can't just tell yourself, oh yeah, no, I've got what it takes. Yeah, I can do this or whatever. And then you don't do the workouts. You don't engage in the program. Like that's not really how it works. If you're still not taking the actions, but the point of this is by changing the self-talk and reframing things, you perceive it in a different way. And then you take different actions and you get different results. And then you also feel a different way too. Okay, so but the action is a key step, obviously. But my point is that it starts in the mind and then it goes out from there. Okay, comes in and then it goes out, and you take action. You go out into the world and you do what you need to do. Okay, so those are two key action steps. That's really because normally the format of this video would be, we jump on, but tonight everyone was busy, which is perfectly fine. That's all good. No dramas. I'm running these things every week anyway, so I thought it's a good opportunity to run a little bit of a mastermind class for you guys and give you something valuable that you can take away and use in your everyday life to start achieving better results across the board. This is something that has been so damn helpful for me. It's been so helpful for so many people around me, and I know it works for my clients too. And I just really want you guys to have that. And I really hope you got some value from this. That's all I'm going to cover for tonight. I hope you guys really got value from that. Now, let me know. I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys next week as well, so we can have a proper chat and I can help you guys smash your goals. But that's all for tonight. I hope you guys got some value from it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. So peace out, and I hope you guys have a great week. Cheers.